We are live. Hey guys. So welcome back. If you're new, welcome to this Q&A study session for AP World. Before we go, we have a poll in the chat that one, how are you? Just want to know where are you at this time, and what do you want to go over later on? So I'll pick the top two. So just fill it up. Hey Tanya, hey, you're killing the game. I always see you in my streams, so thanks for being here. So, weekly stream calendar just for reference, but some things may have changed because AP review. I know it's a grind, but you got this. Yeah, thank you, Tanya. And so, typically worlds are on Tuesdays, but we have cram sessions on Tuesdays. World is on Thursdays, but we have cram sessions on Thursdays. So there's that. Um, if you have any other classes, that's it. You also have it there. STEM for Wednesdays, Mondays for Lang and Math, Tuesdays for Social Science. By the way, recap. We're going. If you haven't if you're new here, we're doing a series on Q&A. So we're gonna go over each unit that'll be on the test. So last week we did Unit 3, which is on the early modern period. Last week before that we did Unit 4, which was like the maritime empire. So this week we're gonna do revolutions and some industrial revolution. And then next week we're gonna go over we're gonna go more in depth on Desert Revolution and its long term impacts, which where the curriculum will stop. So we are just going over this. We're just getting our minds getting our brains refreshed here. By the way, fill out the polls on once again on which topics you want to go over. I want to emphasize that because that's where our stream will go first. Verifiable. We have a Twitter, we have an Instagram, we have a YouTube, and a TikTok. So it's the same address. So if you want to, especially TikTok, want to see some memes and quality content, there you go. In this stream, oh, before that, so today, if you're also if you're a person that's a type of person that's that likes community service, Five gonna do a stream that's going to talk about how to get community service hours, especially this time where it's virtual, it's online. So you might want to check it out. It's link is on the website. So in this stream, if you've done this before with me, you're going to be familiar with this. We're going to do a content recap. But the reason why I had the poll is that I'll let you take control on what we're going to talk about because I don't want to talk here for like an hour. And bore you guys because this is supposed to be engaging. So it's gonna be like a U and B thing. So we're gonna do a vocab slam where I'm just gonna flash a slide of like 30 vocab words or not vocab words, but like historical terms, ideas, concepts. If you may want to focus on, just tell me what you want to need. You want to need elaboration of people, yes, people, dates, not dates, events, times, all that stuff. So we're gonna see it later. Any DBQ, more like a document analysis. Once again, I'm not. We're gonna do a mini. We're gonna do an actual mini DBQ soon, like in the last few sessions. So for now, once again, we're easing you in this document analysis idea. Like just hip happy, all those strategies you've been using throughout the school year. We're trying to ease you. We're trying to get you used to it because it's important because there's a lot of factors to think about, like typing it up, how long it takes for you to type it, how long it takes you to outline this. So we're gonna see how you guys do. Okay, so recap, pick your poison. So this had actually 10 topics, but I split them into 4 sections. So once again, we're gonna do a recap. Just tell me what you want to focus on via the poll. I'm not gonna go over all of them, but you'll get access to the slides later. But I'll go over what you need the most, like what you need focus on the most. So vote on the poll on the polls bar. So this should be. I'll go over the top two. I'll let you guys vote for like a minute. And if I don't see for now, I see emphasis on nationalism revolutions, and continuity and change industrial age. So if you're okay with that, then just vote for it. You know, I'll go over those two. Then I'll give you a minute. But yeah, this unit is about like revolutions. So we see nice. Yeah. So we go over two topics here. So we're going over like we're probably gonna go this is the time of the Enlightenment. So we see like new changes in like beliefs, philosophies. We see revolutions, like people were influenced by these ideas and they revolt against the colonists. This is like the end of this is not necessarily the first wave of the end of colonialism in a sense that we see new states rising. We see the Industrial Revolution, which you know, told us who's the leading powers to this time just because of like how advanced the technology is. And of course, we're gonna see some continuity and change at this time. So look at the poll, nothing changed. So we're gonna go over by the way, I did a typo in that. So we're gonna go over revolutions, which is the second one, the guy, the guard, and continuity and change. So once again, if you need help in the other areas, you'll get access to the slides later. So let's skip to two. So, let's take a quick recap. Enlightenment is that movement where like they're starting to question religion. They're focused on individualism, like the life, liberty, pursuit, happiness. And this is where you see nationalism. Nationalism is when there's like, extreme patriotism between like locally call either it depends colonists or slaves or just a certain group. Like there's a common enemy. Like your enemy, like even if typically countries are divided, but there's just one common enemy that is so prominent that these guys are like, your enemy is my enemy. So they rise up and stop overthrow that leading authority. So yes, revolutions are caused by nationalistic thinking. So you got to make that connection. If you want to do the cause and effect, you want to think back to nationalism. What caused? Why? Just think of like why are they fighting this war? Why are they fighting this battle? What are they fighting for? Is it just because they want to be an own nation? Probably that's more likely, but there's also other reasons that we want to consider. It depends case per case. So all right, so once again, nationalism caused revolutions pretty much and alignment. But the thing here, it's a lot of conflict, but you want to make this connection. They're not isolated. The American Revolution is not isolated from the French Revolution. They, if you think about it, it's actually like a chain reaction, which I'll go over later. So first we have the American Revolution. By the way, I'm not necessarily doing this chronologically, just doing this like how they are connected. So the American Revolution was, if you want to name, just pinpoint like the main defining cause, you could say the general Enlightenment thinking. They want their own nation, nationalism, but the trigger here, the American Revolution inspired the revolutions. The key like the last straw for them was taxation without representation. You probably heard of it, probably middle school or not or even this unit at the time. But going back, it's during the French and Indian War. So North America was just colonized, and they had a war. Like like the colonists are like fighting over there. France and Britain are fighting. Technically, Britain wins, but they are stuck in debt, and debt is not good. You don't want to. You don't want a negative. Like it's like how you don't want a negative in your bank account. You're getting a negative credit score. So they think of this plan. They're like, how do we pay him back? Like how do we get out of this hole without losing a lot? And they're like, oh, we have a lot of colonies around the world. Yes, it was a long death after the revolution. So they were making these people, the colonists, who didn't mastermind it, who didn't even think about fighting them. They were just like kind of forced to pay for it. And even if think of it like an analogy in real life, it sucks. And they're like, why are we doing that? Why are we getting taxed over everything? Why are we getting taxed over stamps? Why are we getting taxed over why are we like being repressed? So this is where you start them rising up and This is where you see the American Revolution. This is where you see the battles. This is where you see the, you know, it's where you see all that, all the fighting. It was because of the it was because of like the debt. That it was the main trigger, and they eventually realized like we should be independent from Britain. Like we should be our own nation. Like all these like Thomas Paine. We see like philosophers' ideas like John Locke, like the social contract, like rights of people. So we see that the Declaration of Independence. So this is where we see all of that like good place. They want yes, representation too. So I was gonna go over that. So they hated they hated the debt and they couldn't get a say in it. Typically when you're a colony, like if you're a good leader, you wanna give them like you wanna give your like colonies a broader voice. Like you wanna give them like a spot in your legislative branch so they at least they can like think of rules for their own. They can at least help conceptualize a rule, like the rules of the laws in that area. But no. So it wasn't necessarily it wasn't just the taxes, but it was also like the lack of say in it. So um that's pretty much American Revolution in a nutshell. So but its success was phenomenal. Like Tanya said, the American Revolution inspired other revolutions. Just a segue though. So New Zealand, you can tell I mean, there's like the Maori tribes versus the English. It's more of like an anti-colonialism sentiment. Like, so if you remember, Australia was a penal colony of for 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 like prisoners to go. They were being sent there, and New Zealand they're trying to expand to New Zealand, and it's like a typical response. It's like how it's like Scramble for Africa. This is like late in a later time. So on the later time, but Oceania. So we see Maori tribes fighting English. So that's just a good example of one complexity. So going back, the American Revolution inspired the French Revolution because first of all, their success. So we see, we see the printing press here. By this time, we see the printing press, and if you remember, the Industrial Revolution, we also see like innovations of printing by that time. So so everyone now knows that Americans revolution they did revolt and they succeeded, and it's ironic because the French helped the Americans fight this revolution only to only to have like another revolution on their home turf. So pretty ironic. But this time it's about more in class and once again having a voice because France is divided into three estates. So the first estate is on the clergy, or actually, no, basically the first and second estate are on clergy and nobility, and the third estate is the common people, or the people, just the people. So it follows a triangle structure. So like based on like population. So obviously the ones on the top have less people, but the third estate comprises like more than half of the population. But the thing is, when the king like makes decisions, usually he consults like these estates. Though these first, each of them have like a vote. Like they can like it's like think of like a ballot. So each estate has their own ballot, and it's easy to just you know to lose like if you're a commoner because usually the clergy and the nobility, the first and second estate guys, can just be in cahoots in cahoots in each other. So they could just outnumber you 2-1, which is like that's like imagine like you win the popular vote, but not like the actual like what counts. So imagine you more than half the population and you still don't get your everyone wants it, but you still don't get it because like the more privileged classes are stopping you from getting that. So they're pretty mad and um they go to this yeah, they go to a tennis court, they make an oath, they make a pledge that they will stop this, they don't stand for this. And then this where you see like the storming the Bastille, this where you see the women protesting at yeah, so basically high school, but the introverts to national population. So yes, you got it. So that's a good analogy actually. So um we see this revolution unfold, and eventually this is like the end of this is technically the end of monarchy, because like let's say guillotine, Mary Antony and her husband Louis XVI were killed, and unfortunately, when a structure like a monarchy is like recently like abolished, and there's like no precedent, we see a power vacuum. I mentioned this in a previous stream. There's a power vacuum. Everyone's gonna fight on who's gonna get that power. And unfortunately, it went to a guy named Robespierre, who started this reign of terror, where they just started, like persecuting the political opponents. We see more people get the guillotine, get their off with their heads, and we see kind of like chaos and like more. It's not really a dictatorship, but it's not really a democratic society by then. So until Napoleon comes into power, and and then under his rule, it's more like it kind of resembles like an empire structure where like consolidate your rule over this area, expand until he gets stopped by Russia, the European powers. Yes, reign of terror is Robespierre, and then after Robespierre, like eventually, like we see Napoleon come and like rise to power like at a very young age. But that's at Robespierre. You're right, Rosa. Oh, hey, by the way, and the success of the French Revolution changed. It's a chain reaction, right? The success of the French Revolution carries over to the Haitian Revolution. Because remember, Haiti, or just think of the Caribbean, like part of it was like it's more of a French colony. Not all of them, but most of it was a French colony. And French colony, remember, if you go back to like the early modern periods, like age of exploration, what did they establish there? Plantations. And we see plantations there. So remember how we saw the rise of slavery. We saw the rise of like brutality over there. It's like it took until like this time period before it stopped. So they were aware the American Revolution succeeded, but they were like, "What's it gonna do with us? I mean, what does it have to do with us? We're like not even connected to the U.S. or the America back then." But the fact that their colonies, their colonizers like toppled the French Revolution, they know something's up. This is the perfect timing. So we see a man named Toussaint. Actually, a man named Toussaint Louverture. He leads like a slave. So it's a little more complicated than that. But like in a nutshell, we see he leads these slaves, or like he leads this group of former slaves called Maroons, and they fight against the plantation owners. They fight against these people who were like abusing them from the beginning, and yeah, Maroons. They were abusing from the beginning. So the Maroons are the like free, like they're like former slaves in Haiti. So um they start you see this like also like a class struggle. It's pretty similar. Like there's like people in the noble class, but like they're the owners of the plantations. They're like try to wrestle power away from them because they just let slavery happen, just let like abuses happen, like the brutality of slavery. So eventually they do succeed with outside help from Britain and like other states. The US was pretty hesitant at this time, but you'll learn more of that in A push. But the point is, Haiti is the first like black it's the first like society dominated by blacks, pretty much, which upheld like a lot of like social Darwinism around the world, which upheld a lot of um yeah, yeah. So We see that here, which is a milestone. And then it's not really part of, like, I wouldn't count it as a part of the main chain, but I would count it with like the American Revolution and like the chain reaction. But we also see the Latin American revolutions here. So like almost entire South America. So if you remember Simon Bolivar, which is in this slide, he led the Creoles. So you gotta distinguish first what's a Creole, what's a Peninsular, what's a Peninsular. Peninsular, if you remember, is someone who's born in Spain and you know is controlling this colony in South America. If you remember a Creole is technically European, like in ethnicity, in origin, but he's born in South America. So technically, in the power triangle, Creoles are below. Obviously, if you're born in South America, they kind of look down on you because you haven't, like, you're not the OG, so they call it. You're not part of like the original gang. So they fall. They're under the Peninsulares, and which sucks because, yeah, it's locals only. Because which sucks because they know more. They had more experience. They're out the region. They know what the problems are. They know they can like literally interact there. And usually Peninsulares, they go back and forth, or just they stay in Spain. So who would know more about, like, let's say, like, I'm a country, like who knows what, let's say, like, let's say I have a friend, I have a best friend, and I have a counselor who's like aloof and he doesn't care a lot. Like, he has a lot of work to do. Like, who knows more about our problems to invent a lot? It's gonna be my friend, right? So it's gonna be like the Creole. It's the locals, like the ones I'm closer with, not the guidance counselor. So the same thing happened here. The Creoles step up, square it up with the Peninsulares, and eventually they gain victory. And what you really need to know is that Simon Bolivar was one of these key leaders at this time. So we see a pattern here. You see same struggles, like class conflict. We see like an end of like structures, like the colonies are ending. Enemy of my enemy is a friend, or my friend understands. Yeah, I would stick with the enemy of my enemy because just because there's a lot of classes in even Latin America. Oh wait, sorry. You want me to explain analogy, or yeah, enemy of my enemy is my wait, the enemy of my enemy. Yeah, yeah, that. So yeah, thanks. Um let's see. Was it under the poll? You went over continuity and change. So revolution, once again, this has a lot of impact. Actually, this is I'm gonna go over this real quick. I'll just summarize this. I'll point out the key ideas. So industrial revolution, we see new technology. We see a rise of industrial nations. So U.S., Japan, Russia. Um, I'm missing one of them. Britain. Britain is where it all starts. So because they have all the colonies, have all the resources. Look at their location. They're like an island nation. They have resources around them. We see the rise of socialism here. We see the rise of unions here, labor unions, because at this time, when it first started, factories are like over exploiting people. So they eventually, the workers realized, like, this isn't all right. We got to do something about this. We see that. We see imperialism. And industrial nations with the technology and all, they get the advantage because they have all the new weapons. They're up to date with technology. They can just easily produce goods. They can just dominate trade. They can dominate militarily. So they get advantage. So I guess you can do. You can take a lot more. You can have a lot more takeaways in that. But that's like some of the most, like the most important, like the ones that stand out to me at this time. So there's that. All right, continuity and change. It's skill. Maybe you're going to do it in your essay. Maybe you're not. But you want to remember, history is not isolated. Like the age of exploration is not. It's not isolated from revolutions. The like the entire post-classical era with the Mongols and all, that's not isolated from the age of exploration. They're all connected. So I want to make a connection here. So here's some continuities that you might want to think about. Well, we see industrialization itself is new, but the military development is a continuity. We keep evolving militarily. We're not, by 1450, by the age of exploration, we're not using stone tools. It's just a continuity, continuous growth. Like, at this time period, we see like in movies, we see muskets, we see like those like prototypes of like today's rifles and all that. Mm-mm. And then if you recall, by the modern period, we have like um, we have like more lethal, more deadly weapons like the tanks and flamethrowers. But that comes before that. Here we see weapons, we see leadership. So the same idea. We see the same structures like um, and imperialism. Imperialism is the biggest continuity ever. It doesn't really stop until the late 20th century. So don't worry, it's like a given. Social. We see this is more in the US, or this is more on the what do you call this? This is more in the US, but we also see like and even in Europe, we see like a call for like women's rights. Like they feel like they're being not excluded. Without these climate change activities, not feminism, yes. Olivia, you don't have to, because remember there's three skills: cognitive change, comparison, and cause and effect. So you can use one of those, honestly. I have a question from Marosa. What is the difference between imperialism and colonialism? So by the way, I love questions like these. So just don't be shy, just ask away. I'll try my best to answer them. Imperialism is more on the empire building part. So like if you play Minecraft, or you just play like if you play Civilizations or Risk, you're expanding your empire. So imperialism is like at any means. So whether it's be like Mongol expansion, just invading everyone, or just what do you call this? Oh god, I don't know, just love the Mongols. I always think about them. Just any means possible. So you just yeah. Colonialism is kind of like a form of imperialism, but colonialism is popular in like the 1450s, like age of exploration, where because that's where they had the technology to go like across like the ocean. So think of it less like the Columbus's age. Like colonialism is like you're getting colonies from abroad. So like Britain gets got the U.S. like the 13 colonies. How the Dutch got South Africa. How Scramble for Africa. Oh yeah, that's the best example. Scramble for Africa. That's like colonies are like abroad, like your territories abroad. Kind of imperialism doesn't have to be really like that far. Like you can, it's like think of like your normal empires: Ottoman Empire, Safavid Empire, just name any empire: Mongol Empire, Aztec Empire, Inca Empire. All of them are just think of like the keywords: imperialism, empire; colonialism, colony. So usually that makes more sense when you yeah, hope it helped. Okay, going back. So let me double check this real quick. Okay, so continuity. So we also see like a rise in the fight of like workers' rights here, because remember how there were like rebellions, not necessarily workers and how you think about today, but worker as in just like labor, because slavery, they didn't, and not everyone agreed with it. Some of them rebelled, but unfortunately they failed. So we see more on the fight on that, but on this new scale, on this new like playing field. This time it's a factory. um, Economically, we see modernization programs. It's a continuity because governments continue to evolve. The empire model won't work forever. So you gotta follow the leaders. So this is where we see the Westernization by Japan, by Russia. Basically, that means follow the West, follow whatever Europe is doing. Why they're succeeding? Why are they leading their industrial revolution? Meiji Restoration, yes. So all kingdoms back. So you want to name like all these modernization programs? Like it's modernization by itself is new, but the idea of evolving, following like the best model to grow, it's a continuity. And we also see it once again. It's see a change in cycle here. So it used to be, remember back in like the early modern period. Back then it was what was it colonialism, where like all your colonies mattered. Colonies mattered. I mean mercantilism. Yeah, colonies mattered. Export over import. But now it's getting to more on they realize, oh, I guess we shouldn't intervene, and we call it laissez-faire. Some of them are really like we're not going to interfere, so we call laissez-faire capitalism. But it's just the general term is capitalism, which is what we know today. Like we see like distinctions like the public and private sectors, all of that. So we see like a shift in the economic methods, which is similar from before. Before it was just from even before like history. Before it was just barter trade, and they realized like, oh, we need to keep track of this. So they have currencies. They have like credit. They establish credit. Stop trading like their cows and all of that. Let's see. I have a question. Okay, so in DBQs, you don't have to use like CCOT. By the way, you have to use or, not and. Okay, so you can't use all three skills at once. So you have to use either CCOT, cause and effect, and comparison. That's like the general skill, which we'll hopefully go over by then. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think Tanya. I'll read Tanya's response as we go. I'll just wrap this up. Yeah. So that's the continuities here. The changes. Real quick. Urbanization. Cities weren't here before. Cities rise at this time. Like those skyscraper high buildings. No, that was in this time period. And we see increased standards for living in a sense that it's not always better, but it's always better. But we see more, back then everyone was just hardwired to survive, eat, food, drink, shelter. Now we have more consumer goods. We have the radio, we have the TV, we have all of that at this time period. Railroads are just, and in general, like better transportation networks. You will see the telegraph lines, communication. Now you used to have, yes, you used to wait for a letter from your friend. Let's say you have a friend across like a pen pal type of thing, but it's more of a letter. It takes weeks, so it had to wait for weeks and weeks and weeks to get that. Now it's voila. You can just use a telegraph. Communication, and transportation. So travel times reduced. Like think of it's like an Amtrak. You can get across the country with an Amtrak. Back then, you didn't have that. Either you had to ride a horse or just they get those wagons. So it's pretty bumpy out there. Middle class markets seem carried too, and because in like lesser risk for like damage, especially in railroads. So immigration. Middle class is where you see like the main driving force behind socialism. Middle class, back then you're only like either poor or rich, but now we have these like minimal like buffer class that's kind of doesn't really even out still, but it's like you're not. It's like what you know today. Like they say you're upper middle class or you're lower middle class. Like you're not rich, you're not poor, but you're not rich. Like you're in the in between. People enjoy spending, like the consumer, like the people who like the consumer goods. Actually, yeah, like the new wealth, because old wealth is like you inherit it. Old, I mean, old wealth is when you inherit it. New wealth is when you like work hard for it. Like you rise up the corporate ladder, kind of, and you got this. Socialism, that's a given. And what states expanded? It's new. We didn't see Japan didn't really make a. Japan just killed the game after industrialized. Back then, if you remember, it was an isolationist country, and Britain, yes. Though it's more of a continuity, but you can say Britain actually it really skyrocketed the game. Yeah, Investments, yes. Once again, Westernization. I think y'all talked about in the chat, but follow the model. Got to invest in Asia eventually to expand, and the U.S. All right, vocab slam. Yep, Belgium. What do you want to know more about? I'll probably give 5 minutes for this, so we're on time. We're in pace. Like, what do you want to talk about in the chat or Locke's natural rights? So it's that one quote: "Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." So it's not like they didn't have a life back then. Don't take it literally, but freedom, personal freedom, like more liberty because in the colonies you were just like they tell you what to do. They tell you what to make, what to work, what to like. They want more. Not necessarily they want, but they need. Like they want that because it's ironic because Britain's talking about all this, and but at the same time they're like our colonies. So it's pretty ironic. But yeah, freedom depends choice control. Yes, got it. Laissez-faire economics is more on the fact that there's no because it used to be like the government like controls like complete control for economics. Like they're the ones that cause the shots in trading and all of that. I mean, we still do, but there's like a more like a little we're kind of a little more lenient over that. It's not like complete. So laissez-faire is more like not that much intervention. Like you don't yeah, free trade, yeah. Um proletariat. So oh yeah, I used to confuse this a lot back then, but so remember that triangle? Oh, I don't have a slide down here, but that triangle where it used to be like rich, poor, and now it's like rich, middle class, like poor. So, or not necessarily poor, but I would call it more like the working class. So working class on the bottom, they're being exploited in the factories, and then we see the middle class. So the working class is the proletariat. So when you reference like socialism, the proletariat revolution, it's about the worker class theoretically overthrowing the middle class, which is the bourgeoisie. Or I probably botched it, um, but yeah, proletariat is like basically the working class people, under the name for that. Balkan nationalism from Ottomans. So it's more of just an example, just a side example there, but so if you remember by World War One, fortunately we wouldn't go over it in the AP test, but in World War One, the Ottoman Empire starts to fall. And if you remember what the Ottoman Empire has like conquered, it's like it's at the like Eastern not Eastern Europe, but like near the like Mediterranean kind of area, like Middle East and kind of Mediterranean, and they're thinning away because once again the empire model is starting to not be effective because we see now industrialization changed the playing field. So um, nationalism usually it's like more of like an opportunity to not usually it sprouts an opportunity when like their colonizers are weakening or you're just done with it. So that's what happens with Greece, Serbia, Romania, and Bulgaria. They're just done. So this is where we start like you see nationalism over there. We see them unite and once again kick out the Ottomans. And that's why they just start getting smaller, 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 they collapse. Toussaint Louverture led the Haitian Revolution. Actually no, not necessarily led, but he's one of the key figures. He's the one like he's the guy at the forefront. He fought for these freedom of these slaves, and after all these abuses. So he's basically the key guy. It's like how Simon Bolivar is the key guy for the Latin American Revolution. In American Revolution, George Washington. French Revolution, um, ooh, that's surprising. Yeah. Oh, you do know that Marie Antoinette, and her husband get guillotined. So key people all goes back to key people. So I think it's pretty much good enough. So let's have follow-ups. Last call. Unification. Actually, where is it? Germany, Italy. So same idea, nationalism. So in Germany, it's Ottoman Bismarck. In Italy, I think it's Camillo de Cavour. But basically same idea. they're split up. So I think it was Italy, but there was like split up into like different colonies. Like not colonies, they're split up into like different. They're not united. So it's more once again, nationalism is not only patriotism, but like kind of like a racial superiority thing, low key. So these like ethnic Germans, because it all goes back to Holy Roman Empire, but it's more of like AP era stuff. But they're like they're like citing history, like we need to make a new like ethnic German people nation. So that's what Germany was. Same idea with Italy, like history, like the Roman Empire. They're just signing like we were one before, and we were split up by, because like power struggles and their neighbors taking over, taking a chunk of the territories. So they were like, let's unite. We need to stand up, not stand up because it's not revolution, but unify, be one. Jacobins, um, Jacobins, whatever you call them. That's the group where Robespierre was part of. So they're the terror guys. They're the ones that guillotined everyone pretty much. And it was pretty violent time. Yeah, Quizlet. Quizlet is a good resource, by the way. Deism. It's more of like the part of philosophy where this is like one of the Enlightenment ideas that what do you call this? So the Enlightenment ideas that says it's not always about God. Like it's like we can control our own destiny. It's not that extreme, but like we can also control our destiny in a sense. So this is where you see like a shift in religious beliefs, because everyone was just leaving like, oh, you know what, they're religious gods. Like, you know what, it's on you. You gotta make it rain. You gotta make our harvest beautiful and all. But now people are starting to doubt that. So deism is more like it's not always about God. It's, yeah, maybe we can call it shots too. So deism, deity. U.S. Revolution and Industrialization. Yeah, so we also have study guides in Fireable. So goes over these guys too. So study guides just seem like you can just read them. They're chunks. So you can use that as a reference too. So we're thriving here. All right, moving on. Just so we had enough time. Once again, DBQ overview. Your main strategy is a HIP or happy analysis. So when you look at text, you want to look at these components. Like you want to look at what's happening. Like why, what triggered this document? Was it because if it's a letter from, if it's Simon Bolivar's letters, then it must be triggered by like just the general revolutionary vibe, like the revolutionary zeal, like this Latin American Revolution. Um, Audience, who are you writing to, or who are you trying to reach out to? If it's a Declaration of the Rights of Man, so French Revolution, you're reaching out to the people. You're saying that you have these rights. We deserve to have these rights. You're basically giving like you're like you're telling these like French like the first and second estate to like like that like mm, pretty inappropriate, but yeah. Point of view, like what POV is it? Once again, if it's Simon Bolivar. I used to think that O was I call O as outside evidence. So, but maybe a teacher can say it differently. But outside evidence, more on you can use it. You can do it two times. Which I'll go over the rubric real quick. Point of view. Who are you reaching out to? I mean, not who are you reaching out to. What perspective are you representing? So, Simon Bolivar's letters, if he's the one that wrote it, he's representing like the Creole class that's against the Peninsulares. If it's a letter by King, I don't know, with some random King George. If it's a letter by King George, he's representing the monarchy. So think of like the class he's on, think of the religion, think of the background of this guy or whoever's writing it. If they give the author purpose, why are you doing this? Are you reaching out? Are you challenging? Are you like think of verbs, think of action words. What are you doing? You're trying to hype up the people, you're trying to make a declaration, all of that. Why are you doing this? Persuade people. That's like the most safe. That's the safest answer. So outside evidence, you only need to do it twice. So, but when you see a DBQ, you can't just look at the document and like, oh, that's outside evidence. No, you need to that. It's not supposed to be mentioned in this is a prompt entirely. If you want to make it count, address a concern. Yeah, purpose. Updated DBQ used to be out of 8. I think 7. Yeah, I have bad memory, but now it's out of 10 points. Thesis is 1. It's didn't change. Context is 1. Evidence it's now 5. So if you use 2 docs, at least 2 docs, and you do the hip happy on at least 2 of them, that's 2 points. But if you do all of them to be safe, that's another point. So there's 3 points that just out of there. And I mentioned outside evidence. It used to be just 1 point if you're doing practice in class. Now it's 2. So they're trying to balance it out. So 2 outside evidence. Analysis, how you explain like how it connects, how the example connects to your thesis. If you hip what do you call this? If you hip or happy just one document, you have 5 documents. You have 5 documents. If you do 1 at least, you get a point. If you do 2 at least, and you do it, by the way, do it right, not just do it. That's another point. Complexity point. At this point, like it's really a unicorn point, but more than that in a study guide definable. I think it's the DBQ guide. It should be sent your emails if you haven't received from Tan. Tan Ho for Viable. So you should check it out. All right, so yeah, DBQ guide. So 7-minute practice. So yes, shoot for all of them. Don't fall one short because if you get the one wrong, then you don't get the point. It's just a waste. Like, what's the point of making like not going all the way? If you're gonna, just be safe. All right. Let's see. I have 4 documents here. Once again, if you did this with me before, usually I'll send the slides and I will have you practice on your own. So I'll just try to knock out as many as we can. We have 4 now. 4 docs this time. So this isolated. So just hip this. What do you call this? I'll let you guys read it. Tell me when you're done. Thumbs up or just say I'm done. Just skim it. And then if you even want, just try to do it hip. Like just at least one of them, like HI or PP or HAPP. And then we'll go over it together. By the way, I'm missing. I think I probably gave the wrong idea before, but historical context, is not necessarily what's literally on there. So you want to also try to branch out of that, like what time you said. So hint, hint. Time period, location, all of that fun stuff. I'll give you another minute. All right, last call, and I'll go over it. All right, so Let's see. Let's go down the list. So, actually, no. Let's look at what this document's saying. So, John Locke. I mentioned he's a philosopher, but you don't need to know him necessarily. But Tanya did mention that it's Enlightenment, so it's a time where philosophies are changing, ideas are changing. Now we see the shift. So remember, life, liberty, and property, or pursuit of happiness. And we see here, we see like, look at tone words. Actually, that's the best way, honestly, for me. I just look at tone words: freedom, equality, independence. You get that patriotic vibe, right? Natural rights, greater security, peaceful living, comfort. Going down the list, we also see here, whenever the government, third paragraph, whenever the government endeavors to take away or destroy life, liberty, property, it's a state of war with the people. So it's like, it's kind of, you see like a conflict between government and people here. So, um, yeah. So looking at the comments out, Tanya is spot on. Olivia, are you talking about perhaps like where is it located? So, you're pretty close. Um, I would one piece of advice, I wouldn't focus on location, just focus on what's happening for context, but that is actually more on like a POV thing. Like it's probably something that someone from France, actually no, not France, someone from the US would say, because they're echoing that sentiment. So you can, yes, US will be a good POV, so you guys just place which hip part of it is. Purpose to try to get governments to change their treaty. Yes, yes, they're trying to persuade. They're trying to reach out. John Locke is not an American. He is a British philosopher. I have to look it up because I'm sure he's from Oxford, but he is British. So, see you later, official. By the way, POV isn't necessarily this guy, because John Locke's POV could be the same as some other guy's POV. So you can argue, Arosa, I would develop in that, literate official, either from or who thinks of this. Don't just say literate official, because I can be a literate official, but I believe that we should keep we should keep the status quo. So just develop that. Let's see. I'm looking at Tanya's again. Government audience. Yes, you can you can take it, in a way that it's persuading the government, or you take it to reach out to the people. But either way, works. POV Enlightenment thinker, yes, spot on. Purpose, try to explain to government the rights of men. Yeah, just develop that. I would like to see a sentence in that. Outside evidence, John Locke, yes. So, oh, so I would count an outside evidence if you say John Locke is a philosopher during this time period. Then you can name some other guys like John Jacques Rousseau, or what's the easy one, Thomas Paine, or all those like names you saw in your history book, like Mary Wollstonecraft for the rights of women. So it'd be outside evidence if you count Thomas Hobbes. Yes, Thomas Hobbes. Yeah. So Enlightenment thinker there. Um, Occupate, if it said his occupational source, it can have a POV. Yes. If we said John Locke, enlightenment philosopher, that would help a lot. But I didn't put them. I didn't put any caption here. So either either you know this man, John Locke, or no, or not. So, yeah. You can use Hobbes as an example though. So Thomas Hobbes, like any philosopher, you can say like they fought. You can just work on that, like on your own. Like you can develop that, because there's a lot of ways to interpret it. So, but you're on a good track here. So yeah, jot them up pretty quick. By the way, I used to do this. My teacher didn't know. I'm not naming names, but I used to do all of them for each document. But if you have like 45 minutes, just pick the one that stands out to you. Quick notes, skim it, just circle stuff. Maybe you don't even have time to write it down. Just like circle it, put a, like draw a line, put H or I or P or A or whatever you're using. If you're outside evidence, scribble it down inside. Thomas Hobbes. Hobbes wrote the Leviathan. I think so. Oh, yeah. I think it was Hobbes, because I always confuse. I hate philosophers because I always confuse what they're saying, what they're trying to do. So yes, he wrote the Leviathan. Just fact check that. Just make sure I don't spout the wrong things to you. Okay, it's pretty good. So pretty solid, guys. So let's do we can do two more. So same idea. What's a hint? Tell me when you're ready. Yeah, it's a tiny A now. I'll fix that. Yeah, Aros is on a roll here, so even just from those two words, you can already do POV, you can already do purpose, you can do audience. You know, that's what you gotta learn. Not learn, but you know, once you get the groove of this, you got this. Also, it's not always a thing, but if you look at verbs, like if it's like it starts a sentence with the verbs, like a call to action usually. So if they tell like step up, like, you know, overthrow the bourgeoisie. So you know, it's a call to action. You can take the purpose. So I'll let you guys do the HIPP on the comments, and then I guess either we can stop here or we could do another one. So I don't mind going over time. Let's see. We'll see another one. I'll wait for another response. Okay, so then I'll start going over it. Okay. Feminism wave. That's a good way to say it, but wow, that's the first time I've heard of it. But yes, feminism. Once again, women's rights. We see the fight for that. Not start, but continue and be prevalent. Like be popular. Like everyone that knows there's a women's rights fight here. And once again, first paragraph is actually like a mockery. Like, oh, just objectify women. They're just companions of women. No, she cancels it. She says, "What nonsense!" And she's saying here, they educate women like men, and the more power women will have. But I don't wish to have power over men, but over themselves. So feminism, it's not superiority, but I mean, more on just being playing on the same playing field as them. So, man, for audience, you can say that. Actually, you can say that, yes, because you're making a mockery out there with beliefs. You can say that we're not objects. We're not. We're not your sidekicks. We're equals. Yeah, POV. You can say feminist from the Seneca Falls Convention. Yes, 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 or just in general, a feminist. But you can say that. You know, the more not more, but when you nail down, if you have an historical evidence in mind, historical example in mind, go for it. Yes, persuade men, stand up for women. Yes, outside evidence, setting a false convention. Yes, ma'am. You got this, Tanya. Purpose to try to get women to just much ability. Yes, you got this, King Dan. Awesome. Elizabeth Stanton. Yes, she's more proud in U.S. history, but if you know her, go for it. That means you know your history. Wow. Susan B. Anthony. You can stretch. You can yeah. You can try. Women's rights though. It's the same topic. If you know a lot about Susan B. Anthony, so go for it. Like not a lot, but like if you just say she's if you just trying to just add it for the sake of it, like oh, Susan B. Anthony was a women's rights activist. We can add more to that. So, but yes, purpose is to no, King Dan, you're right. Your purpose is right. So if we do several partial hippos in our DBQ, would that be okay? What do you mean partial hippos? Like they're not fully developed? Like you're just naming the perp? Oh, like not all five. I would shoot for all five, but if you can't theoretically, I'm not saying okay. Oh, okay. No, yes, and that's what people are confused on, or like they said, can debate on that, but don't do all five hippos for all five docs because that's like 25 things to do. No, shoot for the bare minimum. Do let's say for this doc, I would do a purpose because what stands out to me is to educate women like men. In that document earlier with not Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, I would do POV because I know John Locke is an Enlightenment philosopher. So I would just do one at least. Internet fact checker is cheating. Googling the answer is cheating, but open notes, I guess. Oh, it's open notes though, so yeah, that's the point. You don't have time to Google though, so unless you're a fast typer, you're a pat, you're a fast typer, then go for it. Um, but y- you don't want to. Hey, see you, Rosa. But you don't want to just stick like just random. Just like look up random like I don't know, women's rights activists per se. So um, yeah. So if you're just a slow typer, I would start like those typing exercises. They help. They help. Like I'm a fast typer, but that's because like I use a computer all the time. So um yeah, so I guess yeah, this is an hour already. So I'll have you do these two documents, this guy and this guy, on when I email you guys. Because if you receive if you've been here, you'll get an email on this. You'll get a link to these documents. And if you look at the replay here, I'm gonna add this to the resources, these two. So that's pretty much it. So I'll stay there for like discussion. So I'll hang around for a couple minutes. So do your notes on paper. Yes. You can do like you can do study guides. By the way, I'm done. So here if you have another class, then go for it. But I'll stay for discussion though, so I can hang around here. Do your notes on paper. Yeah, do your notes on paper. Honestly, when you write stuff, you like remember it more. Actually, remember it. Guys on the keyboard, yeah, me too. I can blank and just type it. Oh, DBQ notes. Oh, usually a teacher just does like he just like puts a sheet of paper, just put HIPPO, so you just fill it out. So or you can have like a cheat sheet on like hippo wings, so like just a general guidelines to the side, like on your own words, because what do you call this? At least you remember how to do hippo, you know. Ooh, online notes or in paper. Interesting. Mm, I usually do paper notes. I just like write on paper because I just remember more. But let's see. Oh yeah, Olivia. Let me look it up actually because AP World Exam 2020. I think it's in that week though. So let me see. It's on here. May 21st. So it should be on 21st. Like it's 11 a.m. PT, 2 p.m. ET. So online, it's like more if I don't know. For me, if I type a lot of notes, I guess, and I can easily like just fix them or like compress them or summarize them because I don't want to write an entire entire book on paper. So cardinal notes are summary method. When I took notes, good question. It's been a while since I took notes, but I think I just like do like spontaneous like bullet point, like if you like Google Docs and like just a bullet point, like I don't use like 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 35 page would be for. Actually, I used to do that for outlines, for chapter outlines for my class, but yeah, I think actually no. Looking back, our notes are actually work better because you're more organized to see the topic. But I use colors too. Um, oh, flowcharts. I haven't done that before, but that'd look interesting, especially if you like causes. So you can do like you'd say American Revolution box here, then you can arrow it to French Revolution, and then French Revolution you can arrow it to Haitian Revolution. So, or timelines to the works, or just I don't know, do T charts, I guess. Um, Timelines and flow charts. Interesting. Oh yeah, our study guides have a lot of that too. Not this. Yeah. So, we have a lot of that too. Yeah, basic one. Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, Olivia, the exam is on the 21st. So you have, yeah, you're doing great. You're on a good pace. Like we've gone over 3 units so far. So if you want to watch a replay in the past two, that's also me. Next week, I don't know if I can do it or not. Probably will. It's better to spend time doing those at review book or using the Bible study guide. Well, the thing is, no, but I try not to have biases and all. I'm not, I'm not just plugging Bible, but Bible, the exam is based on this outline, this college board like outline. So if you're, I mean, yeah, books cover it, but maybe like college board focuses on this topic more than this topic. So the reason why, let me go back. The reason why I have numbers here, like 5.1, 5.2, 5.3.9, 5.10, the reason why you guys have called Unit 5 is because College Board does the outline. It did the outline for their AP course. So we're basing it completely on that outline. So, um, we're just giving you the content that like the College Board asks you to understand. So we're basing it on outline. So basically, yes, I would say if you want more focus on what to focus on, I don't know if that makes sense, but do Bible study guide. But I'm not throwing shade at review books because I used to review books in the past. We didn't have Bible study guides before. I used Prince Review. Ultimate Study Guide. It's the reason. Yeah, it's more like links to FRQs, which is good, but focus on the DBQ part. But yeah, I used to get AP World Princeton Review too. But my only problem with Princeton Review, with just review books, is that there's still a lot of content to go over. I mean, that's a given any other thing, but I would just it's another another way too. Yeah, Ultimate Study Guide and just the general study guides. So I'll link a sample. Give me one sec. Um, yeah, there's also Ultimate Study Guide too, but I'll try to link one. AP World Modern. Never mind. I would stick with the regular study guides. So if you go to this thing's so long. History. I wish I could just share my screen, you know. Okay, I'm just grabbing like a random one, but it should look like this. Ooh. This is a sample you can check later, but DBQ content. Yeah, they have a guide for DBQs too. But yeah, these guides are written by teachers, students who got 5s and 4s. So they're pretty credible. Because I wrote the one for World War One, which I mean the global conflict one. I wrote the study guide for that, and which sucks because they didn't cover it for the test. But hey, if you want to learn some content, they'll get published soon. So yeah, so it's 10 minutes after time. So I'm heading out. So I'll see you guys hopefully next time. I love discussion guys here. So oh wait, we'll start practicing DBQs here. Yes. Yes. We're gonna start practicing probably next one. Because I've always done the just document analysis in preparation for DBQ. So I'm shooting next week. Yeah. I'll try next week once I host the next one. So we start right. Five. Yeah, it's more concise. Facts only. AMSCO is a good guide too. It's It's not like it's not. Yeah, it's smaller. It's like there's a lot more. There's a lot more practice. You get a lot more practice questions. So that's you can use that too. Oh, you've always done LQ then. Interesting. Now you don't have to. All right, so I'm calling it a day, and I'll see you guys next week if we meet again. Bye bye. Thanks. See Olivia, Tanya, Rosa. He was here. They was here. Dan. Honestly, I'll pitch that. All right, bye guys.